And the others, of course, need to play a wide open board.
That's funny.
And finally, we have Evan McCarthy, who's won his Division 4 series against Chan Fonseca, 3-1 plus 2-6-1. And Constance Creech is up 2-1 with a spread of 47 over Jack Peters. The Michigan contingent is going to be very happy with her there. And with those updates, we're just going to switch on back over to focus on Collins here, where Joanne and Peter are just about ready to draw tiles.
First couple of turns are going to be very interesting because this is going to be where Joanne has the best chance to really try to shape the board to allow her to win by 168. It looks like she's going first. See if she can draw some magic out of the bag here.
So already Joanne's got some fairly nice high-scoring tiles on her rack. The Zed's, of course, very valuable here.
What is a Zed?
Oh, I forgot. Sorry, we're in America. I have to speak your language. This is true. So Joanne's already lined up Bues, if that's how you say it, on her rack. So likely the best choice here. That's going to go down pretty fast.
And Peter actually has a very tough rack here. Oh, well, never mind. I thought he had one more vowel than he did, so still not the best. Definitely a fighting chance for Joanne.
So Peter, for example, does have one option of underlapping with Ixora, Bo, and AA as one play here. It's possibly not the best play, but certainly one option that cleans up some of those letters, scores well.
That would be 28 points for Ixora if it's played. Oh, and Joanne has drawn a blank. Very, very, very promising now for her to have at least have a shot. She will almost certainly bingo on her turn.
And then there is also the option of something simpler like Oxo and Zo and X underneath Boys. So there's a few options here that'll score well for Peter.
I wonder if there's any good X setups here. Auzo is an interesting play. Only scores 13, but it leaves much better tiles. Probably not best, but definitely worth considering.
Peter's now lined up a Rue on his rack as a potential play. For sure, two of the plays in Joanne's rack are Metopon and Peloton on her next turn. Peter has opted for Oxo, which does score very well. His leave will be slightly unbalanced, but for that many points, he's probably not too concerned.
Joanne had a bingo of option E blocked. That may have been her best option, but she still has a place to play Peloton and OP, which actually, considering the situation of the game that she needs to win by over 160, Peloton opening a triple line and another bingo line could be a really good option.
I do like the volatility of Peloton for sure.
Does she have a double-double through the U?
I don't think so, off a first glance. Doesn't seem right. And we have confirmation from the viewing gallery that there is, in fact, no double-double. Joanne is taking time with this rack. She's lined up option E, hopefully wishing that X was not there. And it is possible there's some nerves here. Maybe Joanne hasn't seen either play. It does appear that she has not seen either play, so she's gone with EXO, OP, and OP. Perhaps some nerves. Her word knowledge we've seen walking by has been quite good. Made some excellent plays this tournament. Probably just nerves in this tough playoff format.
Yeah, Peloton would have been very, very huge in this spot considering the circumstance. So after op, she's going to need a lot of help.
Peter, in the meantime, has a rack that's not going to produce any bingos for him, and that would be 7-letter plays or 8-letter plays, but they are nice enough tiles to score to some degree here. Joe, or I'm not sure how to say that for the word meaning ox. A D goes on the front of the Z as well, Z for the Americans. It's interesting, in a brief simulation with computer software named Quackle that we use here, it does seem like foregoing the bingo was a good idea for Joanne, but Quackle would not understand the circumstances that Joanne is in, so I would say perhaps it's a good decision in some cases to not take the bingo, but I think in these dire circumstances for Joanne, she needs to play the bingo and make that board open.
Peter's definitely taking his time here, probably trying to figure out how best to make the board very, very unvolatile, if that is even a word. Probably not.
I'm not entirely sure about that. Joanne, assuming that the U is not blocked, has an excellent play of Jelutong, if that's how you say it. That is Collins only.
No, it isn't.
Oh, really? It's not?
Jelutong is TWL.
Is it too? Okay.
Because I know it.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Jelutong.
If it turns out that she gets to play Jelutong, this could be a huge turnaround. Op could end up working in her favor. But Jelutong is also not a very easy find.
Jelutong would score a whopping 106 points if that were to go down.
But I also don't think Peter's going to leave that open.
I would say at this point, Peter's considering all the ways that Joanne could score highly easily. So he maybe would consider a play either through the U, or perhaps he might play Ad and Joe and AA as a possible play. And he does, in fact, opt for Ad. I think it's a great play.
Jelutong is still available.
Jelutong will still play.
If Joanne can find Jelutong, this will be a game. It'll be more than a game.
It will be the start of a swing that she really needs.
Jelutong is not an easy find, though.
It's unusual to say this early in a game that there is a turning point, but if this were to be missed, it would be a turning point not in Joanne's favor. She has Jot lined up. Oh, and she has opted for Jot over Jelutong, and I would say already this is a major turning point and not in Joanne's favor to win this game, or the series, pardon me.
But you never know what could happen. And the board is exactly how Peter wants it now.
is going to be a nightmare for Joanne later when she analyzes this game, because she's going to see that she has had the opportunity to do what she's needed to do so far.
Those are both plays that I'm pretty sure she would find if she didn't have a blank, but when you have a blank on your rack and you have so many different possibilities, it can really make it tough.
And then to Joanne's credit, anagramming Jelutong is difficult, especially with a blank, making that work. And under the circumstances, certainly not easy.
Does anybody know what a Jelutong is?
A tropical tree.
A tropical tree.
It's been said approximately 2,000 times in the chat in the last 5 minutes.
Oh. I'm going to have to go find myself a Jelutong on my next vacation.
And we had an update from the other game. Jesse Day has just played the marvelous Be Howled for over 100 against Will Anderson as a double-double.
That is not good for Will because he needs to win by about 80, I think. So he's effectively down by about 180 now. Yeah, Will needs to win by 80 to overtake Jesse, and he is way behind. So it looks like Jesse is going to be advancing most likely.
Things not looking so good for Will here, and it's pretty early in both games already with turning points happening for both.
And Jesse Day has a bingo on his rack.
So Peter has played Jurat, keeping ISH left over on his rack. Good leave. I'm pretty sure Joanne's going to find a bingo here on this turn. Just a question of which one she picks.
Flangers through the A. Scores a lot of points and opens up a triple-triple lane. How many points would that be? Is Flangers even a word? Am I making that up? I'm tired. I've been playing a lot of games.
It is, in fact, a word.
Okay. Whew. That would be 80 points. And an F in the triple-triple lane doesn't really look that dangerous, so she could hit something big through it if Peter doesn't opt to block.
And you never know, it is possible that she could draw Flatfish or something similar.
I actually
right
played
after.
Flatfish this tournament.
I actually saw that. I even wrote it down in the commentary. I was so impressed.
Oh, and down comes Flangers.
So that's going down. Joanne has found a bonus play here.
Nicely done. Oh my gosh. Jesse Day is up 305 to 169 on Will Anderson. He must not be very happy. Will is essentially eliminated and Jesse has advanced to the finals. Don't even think there's really any chance now for Will to come back.
Will's had an excellent run in this tournament. Really haven't seen anything major in the games that I've watched that he's missed. And both blanks are even in the bag in that game with Will versus Jesse, and the score's already really weighted in Jesse's direction.
Will essentially needs to outscore Jesse by about 250 points in the final part of the game in order to come back.
That would require drawing both blanks and at least one triple-triple, I'd imagine, and I just really don't see that happening at this point.
And having Jesse keel over.
Perhaps, as was suggested in the chat, is there perhaps some kind of director call that needs to be made when an opponent's head falls off in frustration? I don't know what the precedent would be for that.
That would be pretty weird. I don't know. Director?
I don't know. I don't think I have an official ruling for that one. I would probably start his time, his clock for sure, and we'd have to see if we could reassemble him in time.
Wasn't there an incident a few years ago where a player had a heart attack, a Division II player, and he ended up coming back 4 or 5 games later and played?
Actually, it was a seizure.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe that was in Dayton?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in Dayton. And he came back and did very well. There was certainly a lot of applause in the room when he walked up to get his prize just for coming back. So meanwhile, we're over onto Peter, who is figuring out how to balance his rack here.
He's probably debating if he wants to block the triple-triple or not.
At this point, he knows Joanne needs to score a lot in her win and not just win, so any reasonable play that he makes here is going to involve a block of the triple-triple line. That just minimizes Joanne's chances at the improbable victory by a large number. Pilaf is a great play that blocks that. A flop works as well. And he does opt for Pilaf in the end because it doesn't offer back a triple word line such as flop does.
And Joanne is sitting on only one vowel. Not too much potential here for her. Looks like she might be wanting to play Creed through the E in flangers.
Creed for the volatility is a good idea. I don't see any play that uses enough consonants to play Ka with the two A's and that triple letter score, so I don't think she'll be going there. But she does have it lined up in a rack. She may be considering playing Rec there in the end. I do like that Creed creates more of that volatility. I would say it's probably a toss-up between at least those two options. Another thing she could do, she could play something under EXO to create Exon and Op. Nerd is a possible play that would go out that way, that would score some for her. And
that would actually be a quite good play. So, I really like Nerd.
So Exons and Nerd and Op is a play there. Also,
26 points for Nerd.
It's also an apt description of most of us. Scrabble nerds, unapologetically.
Kind of a weird play to spot with the blank there.
It requires some board vision, absolutely. So Joanne, in the end, has opted for the play of Rec and Ka to score some points. I prefer Nerd personally myself, but I do see her her line of reasoning for that.
So apparently in Game 2, Peter lost by playing Stately, giving Joanne an out bingo, and in Game 3, Joanne chickened out on Moidered, M-O-I-D-E-R-E-D, late in the game, and she may have won if she had found that. So both of them have a couple plays they might want to look back on and think about differently when they analyze. Peter has a relatively tough rack here. So Joanne is chipping away at that deficit that she needs to catch up. I believe Joanne is effectively down 96 points right now.
Yes, because she does have the lead, but she needs to have a very large lead. So we need to look not just at the best plays here, but the ones that are still going to, in the long run, limit Joanne's scoring opportunities, so Peter can hold on to this even if there is a loss for him in the end. Peter's playing Ios and Jurats, which is a good play. Joanne is not likely to be playing underneath of that to take the triple word score because she needs the board to stay open so she can score lots of points. Peter, in the meantime, has set up IO, OH, and OH for some easy points to continue building up his cum, assuming he doesn't try bingo.
Any word on the Matthew Tunnicliffe versus Pontypool game?
Good question. We'll see if we can get a runner or someone to go over and check on that, and we'll get a result for you after they come back.
I can hear the runner running.
Run, Forrest, run. So Peter's rack is looking fairly balanced at this point. An open A would be nice for short chess or air shots, something along those lines. Joanne has opted for Nai in an OY, which scores fairly well for her, but her rack is still not going to be too bingo friendly at this point.
Especially on a board like this. No good lanes available. Ooh, she drew one more vowel though. And Peter is wearing a brown hat that is blocking his rack currently.
I would give a shout out to his sponsor if I could see what was on his hat, but unfortunately I cannot.
So Matthew Tunnicliffe is ahead 389 to 297 late, so he is going to make it to the finals.
Safely through because of the situation with spread for Panupon. Matthew more or less has guaranteed his final placement, so congratulations Matthew. Excellent run Panupon.
Ooh, interesting play by Peter. He's setting up his H. And keeping the board tight at the same time.
So Soph, S-O-P-H, and some other play next turn is likely.
Looks like Joanne is probably going to play something above Rec. Maybe Deb.
Joanne has Bendelet on her rack, as we've seen pointed out in the chat.
Ooh.
She is opting for debut. Still scoring, still balancing her rack some, but long term I'm not seeing her creating the opportunities that she needs to get back into this game. This series, pardon me.
She does have a T, though, which goes well under op, and an E for op or opt. So she does have a nice bingo lane there, and she also has a bingo lane to make a two-letter word next to P, making like PE or something.
And of course, the S in Flangers takes a T on the bottom, in Collins only. We have a final score for the game between Matthew Tunnicliffe and Panupon. Matthew wins 414 to 318 and advances on to the finals.
I wonder how Peter is feeling right now, because while he is down, he still effectively is ahead, but it would be very devastating to lose a game by a huge amount when all you need to do is not lose by that amount. So Peter might be feeling a little bit of nerves here.
I think Peter's looking at possible best plays that involves his setup of Soph. Another bonus play that we have seen off the side for the Jesse Day and Will Anderson match. We've seen Rigadoon played on the board with an O-U-N ending.
It's a good play.
Fantastic play. There's lots of options here. I'm liking things like Who or Hoy off of Soph. I think Who is probably slightly better just for the leftover letters to combine.
Looks like Peter is considering HO, which would score 30? No. Yeah, 30 points.
So he's going one shorter, keeping an O, understandably looking for balance here, so 2 vowels, 3 consonants does effectively give him that nice balance.
And if Peter hits a bingo, he is almost certain to win the game. Yes, or not win the game, but win the series.
So he does have bingo letters on his rack.
Goiters.
He has goiters in several forms. Goriest, lots of options.
And Joanne has still not really drawn the bingo she needs to catch up. Well, catch up relative to the situation.
She is in all sorts of trouble now. I think she needs to consider a play like tenor at this point, down to the R and rec to open up a triple line, potentially. Just keep the board continuously volatile.
Yeah, she's up 53, but she needs to win by, I think, 168. So she is effectively down by 115 points. At some point, you just have to make the board very volatile.
A somewhat cute play she might consider would be Neon and Exons and Ope to take out that double line if she's getting the inference from Peter that he's got nice letters.
That would be a cool play.
Oh, look at that. We even have that suggested in the chat over there. Very nice. You guys are on your A game today.
But even if Neon comes down, Peter is still going to have an easy bingo.
He will still have an easy bingo. While we have perfect knowledge of what Peter's rack is, I do prefer a play like tenor just for the long-term benefits in terms of what Joanne needs to do to win this game, because it gives a triple opportunity and leaves the double. Interesting, Joanne has opted for tone. So now for Peter, it's a question of which bingo that he prefers there.
Probably Goitrez. Is that a good in Collins with
yes.
RES?
Yeah.
Goitrez would be 77 points. And putting an O next to the double letter score isn't that bad for him. Although he may opt for the... I think he'd probably play Goiters.
So he's going for a placement of Goriest, it looks like.
Guess he just wants to avoid any big comeback play. Maybe with the K through the O. I think that's about 66 points for Goriest.
Yeah, Peter is opting for a very defensive move here. Can't blame him, obviously.
Joanne is still not drawn a bingo.
I have to say she hasn't done a lot to help herself these last few turns, keeping some awkward combinations like LN after her last play. Really hoping for what looks like miracle draws based on what she's played so far.
It's very, very difficult to know how to play when you need to win by so many. Not very many people get into this situation.
There are different levels of experience here, absolutely. At this point, healer would be a good idea up to the triple line from the R and rec.
And given Peter's rack, well, he can probably block through the V, but he is going to have a little bit of a hard time dealing with that. The game is not over yet. But Jelly Tongue would have really been good.
That certainly would have given her the opportunity she needed here. Instead, we're seeing what's going to look like a fairly safe Series win here for Peter. Even though he's got some junk here, the board is quite effectively controlled for the most part here already. I would not be surprised if he played something like Vying from the G Ingorious with his VYIN to further lock off some of the options there. It does open up some 8s as possibility.
It is Joanne's turn though, so she goes first.
Yeah, just looking at possible options for Peter after Joanne plays. Joanne needs to play something like Healer at this point to give herself any chance at winning this series.
I wonder if any of the other division games have ended.
Good question. We can check that after, certainly. Joanne has gone for Heat underneath of Tones, creating several overlapping plays.
Ooh.
He's going to consider Vying absolutely here in that top spot, because the I would really be the only letter that could be played through. Well, the N maybe, if there was the right letters to play through for an 8-letter word.
And Vying also sets up QI if he draws an I, and QI would be 46.
And there have only been 3 I's played so far, so that would be a very good opportunity. He'd only be playing the 4th of 9 I's by playing Vying off the G Ingorious.
And Joanne has drawn the ugly WU combination.
So he does go for Vying. Good decision, I would say.
Looks like Joanne might play something like Ren through the R in Ingorious. Or Undrew, maybe? Oh, Vyings. Vyings is a word, but neither player has an S on their rack.
What Peter does have on his rack is 2 I's, not just 1 that he needed to draw, but 2 for an easy QI play on the next turn.
It would be very, very hard for Joanne to win by enough at that point. Looks like Joanne is looking at Undrew through the R.
I would say with this rack here, Undrew is a good play to unload the WU combination there. And I would say this is fairly a straightforward QI play for Peter.
So John Karras has beaten Todd Taylor 3-1 to make it to the finals of Division 2 TWL. And Kevin Fraley is up 2-1 on Gunther, and Gunther needs to win by... Oh, actually Gunther is ahead in the spread, so Gunther just needs to beat Kevin Fraley in the final game in order to advance.
So Peter's played QI, he's got a nice leave left over. Joanne's drawn the other W.
Joanne could play Weak or Walk and win. For about 44 points.
Likely Walk is going to be considered there. She won't want to play Weak with either EA or EE because of the double L's not being particularly friendly to playing bonus plays.
Ooh, you know what she maybe should do is play Welkin to the IN to open a triple lane. She needs to triple essentially in order to win by enough.
Welkin is a fantastic suggestion. I like it.
34 for Welkin. Although Peter is going to know to block it, so it isn't going to ever stay open, but...
The sense I get is she'll be playing Welk and win on this turn.
Oh, Joanne is being a little creative here, looking at the idea of well wake, which probably is not a word, but would be very, very creative.
So she is going for Welk in the end. We have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 T's left to play on top of win potentially.
Oh, Joanne has drawn the second blank.
Joanne's drawn the other blank, which makes this not over, at least not 100% over after that play.
And EE makes it so that Foliate is available, making Twin and EE. So Joanne's not
She's
out
not
of it quite
entirely
yet.
out of this game just yet.
Foliate would score 88 points. She would need a little help after that, but the board actually is not possible for Peter to completely shut down. There's a lane on column 2 making one of the 2-letter words after P, like PA, PE, PI, PO, and there's a W lane, which you could bingo from the W.
Joanne will be bingoing for sure on this next turn because Foliate also plays off of the P in Pilaf. So we do know that she's going to be scoring fairly well on her next turn. It's a question of where she's going to make that play. If she has the choice, it does seem like on top of win to make Twin and EE would be better because of the O being in that volatile place on the triple word score.
And in addition, it's 88 points versus considerably less by playing it next to Pilaf. Oaf-like. She has Oaf-like set up on her rack. Is that good in Collins?
Oaf-like. Let's just check here. No, it is not.
It looks very unlikely that Peter will be able to block Foliate. The good Foliate, rather.
And based on what he has in his rack, it just doesn't seem likely that he'd be playing there at all.
How many tiles are left in the bag? That's an important thing to keep in mind, because if Peter plays off enough tiles, then even a bingo by Joanne won't leave enough tiles in the bag for her to come back. Because if she can't draw 7 after Foliate, then the game is essentially over.
Peter would be able to unload that GC combination with a play like Skag as well from the S and Flangers.
He's looking at Gek to the G. Looks like he's going to play Gek.
With Ion left in his rack, he'd be giving himself some kind of ing word.
And at this point, he's really just looking to outrun Joanne.
So he's made a good play here, I would say, from his letters. Foliate should be going down up there, although it is possible that maybe she only saw foliage.
I think she's going to play Foliate rather quickly. That's what I suspect.
Peter has RIU added to his rack.
This could be a very tough spot if Joanne draws a good rack after this.
She does have the letters lined up on her rack.
I believe there are 12 tiles in the bag right now. So after she bingos, she's going to have a full rack with 5 in the bag, if I counted correctly.
And Peter's going to have an extremely difficult pre-end game here, not just because he's thinking about winning or losing the game, but the entire series. So he's probably going to take time to think about that, although we are not entirely sure exactly how much time is on either of the players' clocks, so we'll look into that and we'll factor that into our analysis here.
If Joanne plays foliate for 88, that will put her ahead by 99, meaning that she...
It looks like she's probably going to make the blank a G because she has lined it up but playing on the left side, so I'm going to assume she's made that a G.
I think the nerves are getting to her a little bit, maybe. Because foliate and twin and EE is pretty good.
Yep, so we can't see what she's written down as the blank on there, but I would imagine she would see the better spot for foliate if that blank were a T.
But if she draws a bingo from the W, she could still maybe take this one down.
Peter has 4.5 minutes approximately on his clock, and Joanne has just under 6.
Wow, Joanne drew actually some very good tiles here. There's no way that Weaviest is good in Collins, right?
No. So Peter's got some clunky letters here.
So Joanne with her 87-point lead is effectively down by 80 right now in order to make it to the finals. So Peter has an 80-point lead for all effective purposes.
So interesting suggestion from the feed is to play Uridine from the E and Gek. I'm not sure, depends on how many N's and M's are in the bag.
If he played Uridine, he would empty the bag, and an out bingo might be enough to win. So I don't think he can play. I don't think he can empty the bag here. It'd be helpful if we knew what the exact pool was. Maybe we should track tiles.
We could indeed.
Wonder if there are any one or two tiles that she could draw to hit a big bingo off the W, because that is probably what she would need. Some 100-point bingo off the W. Jesse Day is ahead of Will Anderson 409 to 302, and with Jesse already having a 70-something point advantage going into that game, it looks like he is going to advance to the finals.
So Peter's opting to take a little bit of score from the triple spot there. He's still keeping his I-N combination for ing words.
I believe there are 2 tiles in the bag, if my count was correct.
So there are 2 tiles in the bag. We've had that confirmed by tournament director Dallas Johnson.
So she's going to need to hit a miracle out bingo from the W.
So she would need to play off 1 tile here and not empty the bag. Peter, however, does not have a good rack at all. Jesse Day has a really nice rack, something like Harpoon to go down for a bingo on his next turn to take an even bigger lead on Will. 86 points for Harpoon would be possible there, and I imagine he will see it. So Peter is in all sorts of trouble right now. but still looking good for winning this series just because of the difficulty of that V. Just gonna look at the chat feed for a suggestion here.
AM are in the bag.
We know that A and M are in the bag. We know that Matthew Tunnicliffe and Jesse Day will be playing off in the TWL finals tomorrow. So we do know that we will have a new North American Scrabble champion for sure.
So if A and M are in the bag, I wonder if there's any possible way for Joanne to steal this. Looks very, very unlikely. She might need to do something crazy, like set up her S in the triple lane down below.
Jesse Day had a final score of 616 to 387 against Will. Very good. And Joanne has essentially conceded the series by playing Vitae on that E spot. Joanne's more or less, she's been playing to win this game, but that's not enough to win this series. She's going to win the game based on her play, but she will lose the series because she's not going to win by enough.
There's a small chance that she actually may think she needs to win by half of 167, because if she was effectively ahead by 167 spread, which can happen in tournaments, then she would actually have to win by half that amount. Very unlikely, but it's a small possibility that she thinks that an 89-point win would be enough.
I think we've just seen a little bit of inexperience on Joanne's part with understanding some of what you need to do in order to win a match play format. But to be fair, in Scrabble, we don't really have a lot of match play style tournaments, so it's fairly new, and some of the theory on how to play in any match play style are still really undeveloped for most players, certainly not accessible to everyone. So perhaps there's just inexperience showing there, because all in all, she's done what she's needed to do mostly to win this game, but just it isn't right in these circumstances for winning the series.
It would be very tough to play a live game under these circumstances for sure, because a lot of the correct plays make you look very, very strange if people don't know what you're trying to do. Looks like Joanne might play meme through the M in dorm.
She does have Mies lined up on her rack to go out.
Oh, a Collins word that I don't know. What else is new? I play with the baby book. So Joanne will win the game, but not by enough. And Peter will advance and play Dave Wiegand won, right?
Yes.
So Peter will advance to play Dave Wiegand, which is actually quite interesting because they live in the same city in Portland and play each other every Tuesday night.
So Joanne's gone out with Mies and So while Joanne takes this game, overall both finalists, or semi-finalists, pardon me, have won 2 games apiece, but Peter has won the 2 games. He's won by more points than Joanne won her 2 games, so that's the tiebreaker that will allow Peter to go through to the finals matchup, where he will play Dave Wiegand.
The great and powerful Dave Wiegand.
So we'll see if we have some updates on some of the other divisions just before we go off the air. Evan McCarthy's through 3 games to 1 over Chan Fonseca. He will play Constance